I am so grateful to be standing here today, in this minute, in this moment, delivering my chapel speech to you all today. I like to think of it as running through the storm in Fortnite and surviving with one health left, or getting that last serving of french fries in the dining hall before they have to refill the tray. For that brief moment in time, you are so, so grateful. I'm telling you that because that's what's going on in my head right now. That's what I'm thinking about. I'm also wondering what bribe my mom used to convince my brother to be here right now, but that's a different story. Today's going to be a lot like that. I'm going to tell you what's been going on in my head. Buckle up. It's like somebody threw a grenade in there. One night in grade 10, I sat in my room with my friends. We were taking BuzzFeed quizzes. You know, the kind that say, answer 3 questions and we'll reveal a deep truth about you, or pick 3 cupcakes and we'll tell you where to vacation next. Well, my friends and I were taking the quizzes when I came across a question that puzzled me. Are you competitive? I stared at the question and immediately thought, of course. I looked up at my friends, the blue light of the phone illuminating their faces. Guys, I asked. They glanced up. Am I competitive? No, one of them answered almost immediately. They looked back down, and I stared back in bewilderment. I was quaking, to say the least. How did they not think I was competitive? I was surprised and, honestly, a little hurt. I felt like they didn't know me like I thought they did. I even in the week asked other friends, and they said no too. Hurt, I decided to let it go and move on. If anybody's wondering, BuzzFeed said I should vacation next in California. Mom? A few weeks later, I was sitting in math class and received a test back. Now, to any math teacher in this room that has taught me, I'm really sorry. I see them up there. I'm so sorry. Unfortunately for my math teachers and parents and David Gow, math has not been one of my most predominant callings in life. I received my test back and for around 5 seconds was absolutely elated to discover I got a 92% on my test. The very next thought that popped into my head was, really, Becca, why not a 95 or 100? A 92 isn't good enough. It happened again a few weeks later at a singing performance. I fumbled the words to the song I was singing, and the first thought that popped into my head was, you're not good enough. You have to do better. These sort of thoughts kept popping up again and again. When I'd do well on something, I would tell myself I could do better. When I didn't do well on something, I would tell myself I wasn't good enough. And that's sort of when I began to realize, I'm not competitive with other people, I'm competitive with myself. Being competitive with yourself is an interesting problem, and one I think we all have to a certain extent. We're all striving to be better and do better. We hardly sit in our successes and are constantly pushing ourselves to strive for greatness. Don't get me wrong, I think it's important to be better every day. But for me, it was getting to a point where I was expecting myself to be perfect rather than simply improving inch by inch. It began to hurt me rather than propelling me forward to create awesome. It left me feeling a lot more sad than happy most of the time. I was never meeting my own expectations, so it left me with a deep sense of hopelessness and sadness. Though I realized my inner competitor wanted me to be perfect, I thought about it so much it was all I wanted to be. I was sad that I couldn't meet my own expectations, and sad I told myself I wasn't meeting others either. The whole battle began to feel hopeless. Then I'd feel guilty and angry for feeling sad. I'm incredibly blessed in my life. I have a roof over my head, food in my fridge, great family and friends. I wasn't allowed to feel sad. So it left me just feeling kind of angry and empty. On top of this, I thought everybody else could hear that voice inside of my head, so everybody else knew what was going on too. I could tell it was affecting relationships with the people around me. It was hard to explain to them what was going on with me because I genuinely thought they could hear the voice too. I was angry at myself because I wasn't good enough. When I started opening up to people about it, I was shocked people actually wanted to listen, and even more shocked they didn't know about it. People wanted to hear what was going on in my head. It helped the pieces click for me and for them. The things that seemed so obvious to me now were obvious to them. It was freeing in a sense to know all people wanted all along was a little communication. I realized it wasn't like my friends know me like I thought they did, but I didn't share that part of my life with them. I'm still working on it, but I'm trying to consider my own successes enough. Telling people what was going on in my head was one of the most positive experiences I can't even tell you. It was like letting people in on a secret that was only my own. I still need some help every once in a while. I need some prompting to let people in. But once you tell people how you're feeling and communicate with them, life becomes a lot easier. Yesterday during Arts Day, we sang "You Will Be Found." The lyrics struck a chord in me, absolutely pun intended, when I first heard them. Even when the dark comes crashing through, when you need a friend to carry you, and when you're broken on the ground, you will be found. When I started letting people in and communicating again, I felt like I was found. Being the arts prefect this year has been one of the most gratifying experiences in my 18-year-old life. Art is so special to me because when you can't find exactly what you're trying to say, you can find it in a color or melody or texture. In a sense, it's speaking without words. I've always found that comfort there. It's been my way of communicating when words fail. I feel like as a community here in this chapel and the greater vibrant Appleby life, we can work on this too. Talking about how we're feeling and our mental health is so important. Saying what's on our mind is okay. Bottling up our emotions and how we're feeling just doesn't work. Time and time again, my brain goes back to the What's Your Big Lie presentation by Jordan Exani only a few months ago. I remember seeing all of your responses light up on that screen and thinking, oh my goodness, I'm not alone. I remember the thick atmosphere of sadness, anxiousness, but most importantly, relief we weren't all really feeling that differently about ourselves. We can't let go of that feeling. When we all let each other in, it was the most empowering feeling I've ever felt since I've been in this Appleby family. It was like seeing everybody again for the first time in a new light. That's how we always have to see each other, for every emotion, every flaw, and every feeling. Somebody I've always looked up to, and it really embodies how they're feeling, is my dad. If you need to know, my dad will let you know. If you know me well, you would know even me calling my dad feels weird. He typically goes by Quaff Man or Matty B on a regular day, so I'm just gonna call him Quaff. If that doesn't say who this man's is, I'm not sure what quite well. Quaff is the absolute king of saying how he feels no matter what. Whether it's dramatically telling you how that battle royale win slipped from his delicate fingers, to singing and dancing in the kitchen making breakfast sandwiches in the morning, he's one of the most transparent people I've ever met. You can tell exactly how he's feeling, and he'll tell you honestly. It's something I've always admired about him, and something that drives our whole family a little crazy. For example, this Thanksgiving, my family decided to take a trip out to the apple orchards. Quaff decided that it would be fun to do a corn maze. We had to find all the signs hidden in the maze to win. The first hour, my brother and I amused ourselves searching acres of corn to find 31 tiny wooden signs. Eventually, we only got down to needing to find one sign left. After 45 minutes of looking on top of the first hour, my brother and I were ready to give up. My dad refused. He told us blatantly and honestly he would feel sad if we didn't find the last sign. Surprised he said that, we kept looking. We did end up finding it, and get this, it was on the back of the exit sign to the maze. Now that's cruel. I know it seems like a simple and odd example, but it made my brother and I understand and keep looking for that last sign. If my dad hadn't agreed and left right there and then, I wouldn't have known. He would have been a little more sad if we didn't find the last sign. I wouldn't have understood how he felt. His transparency helped us both, and eventually we both ended up happy. It's an example with bigger meaning. In order to get to the support and help we need to do what you have to do, you have to open up to people. If you keep it inside and don't let it out, people won't understand. As a community, we're each other's best allies. Let's focus on being there for each other and supporting each other through the good and bad. I know I've done a lot of preaching during this chapel speech about saying what's going on in our head, and I think it's time that I walked it like I talked it. The first thing I feel is gratitude for my family. Shout out to my mom, Maddie B., second funniest one in the house, and my sister, who's in Vancouver for school, for always being there to make fun of me when I'm taking myself too seriously and making me laugh. I also feel nervous. The future seems big and bold and out there, and I'm glad through opening up, no one else has really figured it out either. I guess we'll all work it out together no matter how far apart we might be. Lastly, I'm feeling lucky to be looking around in a room filled with love and support. It's crazy in this world we got to be so lucky, and I'm planning on soaking in every second I'm going to be allowed. Now it's your turn. I want you this week to talk to somebody about how you're feeling. It might be a little weird at first, but I promise it'll become less intimidating the more you do it. It can be simple, just telling somebody you're having an amazing day. If it's a little more complicated like mine, that's okay too. Take your time and try your best. I know it's not easy, but it's more than worth it. Like I said at the beginning of this chapel speech, I am so grateful to be standing here today, in this minute, in this moment, delivering my chapel speech to you today. I'm feeling happy, a good kind of tired, a little hungry, in the mood for a Black Mirror binge, and I'm sharing that with you. Now it's your turn. Please stand and sing hymn number 662.